Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I am diving into something really cool, Quadrant, a blazing fast open source vector database that makes semantic search and similarity tasks super easy. In this video, I'll walk you through everything from scratch, creating a Quadrant account, setting up your free cluster, connecting it via Python, generating sentence embeddings using mini LM model, and visualizing your vector search results right in the Quadrant UI. Whether you are building an AI-powered search engine or just exploring vector databases, this walkthrough will give you a solid head start. So let's get started. Let's get started by creating an account on Quadrant, and to do that you need to visit on this website, which is quadrant.tech. And once you are here, you will be greeted with this message, high performance vector search at scale. So we should be clicking on this get started button. And once we do that, since I already have an account, so what I'll do is I'll just log out, and I would try to create an account maybe by doing sign up. So I'll start from scratch, from blank, assuming that you will be doing so in a similar manner. So I will be going with continue with cloud. You can continue with Google, or you can continue with your GitHub, or you can continue with your email. All the sign up options will take you to the same option of creating your first cluster, and I'll tell you what cluster means in a moment. So I'll continue with Google, and this time I'm going to be using some different account. So let me use this, and once I do that, let's do continue. So now I have been successfully created this account. You will be greeted to this screen. So there are two options. You can either create a free cluster, or you can create a dedicated cluster. Now let me tell you first of all what is a cluster. Cluster is just a fancy name for a server, okay? So just like you have a server for database, server for your web apps, in a similar manner you have a server or a cluster for your vector search applications. Now you can see here, on a free account, on a free cluster, you will get a 1 GB of RAM, 4 GB of disk storage, and only 1 nodes. And obviously if your use case is having millions or billions of vectors, then this would not suffice. You will probably need a dedicated cluster. Okay, I can cover that in a later video, but to make sure that this video is accessible to most people, I will be going with free cluster. So let's put a name for free cluster. You can put any name. Maybe I'll put test cluster. And the moment you create, and you can also specify your cloud provider. Now it doesn't matter, right? Because the cloud provider, since this is a free cluster, they are providing it for free. You can choose any cloud provider, but if you are going for dedicated cluster, you will have an option of something known as hybrid cloud. And in hybrid cloud, what you can do is you can choose your own cloud provider and sign in with the credentials of your own cloud provider, so that your cloud will be connected to the Quadrant. Okay, enough of that talking. So let's create the cluster. I'll click on this create free cluster button, and it should spin up the process of creating the free cluster. Okay, so once I have, it will start creating a API key. Now notice here, it has created a API key, and it is also telling me that this key can't be accessed anymore in full length after closing this dialog. So please make sure to store it safely. So I'll just copy this key, and maybe I'll open Notepad and I'll put right here, so that I have this key ready once I start doing Python coding. Okay, so I'll close this this navigation window. Okay, so there are couple of features that I want to talk about, but before I talk about those features, I would like to maybe create the virtual environments for my Python installation, because those will take some time, and the installation of some packages will take some time. So what I'll do is I'll just I'll just try to create. So let me open command prompt, and then I'll create a virtual environment. Okay, before I do that, let me create a directory, maybe quadrant demo maybe. So I'll go inside quadrant demo, and then inside this I'll create a virtual environment. Okay, so now my virtual environment should be ready at when. So if I hit run, it should take some time, maybe a couple of seconds, and once we have that ready, what we can do is we can activate the virtual environment and then install the necessary packages. Okay, so it's done, and now what I can do is I can activate the virtual environment, and now I can install two things. First one is Quadrant client, and another one is .env. Now .env I will be using for accessing my API keys securely. Okay, so I'll just hit run, and I'll come to this this dashboard that I'm seeing here. So how can you interact with your cluster? Okay, so there are two options to interact with your clusters. First one is a UI dashboard that Quadrant is providing you for free, and second one is through their APIs, and it is supported in many programming languages. Python is one of them. Okay, so how can you access their UI dashboard? Okay, so to access the UI dashboard, what you need to do is you need to click on this access cluster, and if you click, for the first time it will ask you for the API key, and what I'll do is I'll copy this API key from here and I'll paste it right here, and I'll click apply. I'll not save it. Now once you are in this dashboard, you can click on this collections. Now what are collections? So you can think of your cluster is a top level organization of your database, and collection is basically a collection of points. Points is something that Quadrant is using. It is specific to Quadrant because other vector databases are using different terminology. So for example, Pinecone uses vector and Quadrant is using points. Okay, points is just another name for vector. Okay, so if you click on this collection, currently I don't have a collection present, and that's okay. We can create collections by maybe uploading a snapshot, but that's not what we will be doing in this video. So I hope it makes sense. And another way by which you can interact with your database is using the API, which we will be doing in a moment. So we can see that our package Quadrant client and .NET both are installed now. Now let me clear my screen. Now what I can do is I can open my Visual Studio Code. You are free to use any code editor that you want. I'm just using Visual Studio Code because I like coding in it and it makes things a lot easier. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll create a bunch of files. First one is .env and another one maybe quadrant demo.py. Okay, currently I'm only creating this quadrant demo.py, but at later stages there will be some more files which will be created to separate out creation of index and querying, and you will know what all these terms mean in a moment. So this .env file, what does that supposed to contain? So it is supposed to contain this API key. So what I'll do is I'll create a key quadrant key equal to this. So and I'll save this, and now inside this file what I can do is I can import a function called loadenv from .env. This .env package we just installed using pip install. Now what it will do is we can call this loadenv function. I think it should be load.env. We can call this load.env function, and now what this function will do is it will try to look at a .env file in the same directory in which this script is located. So this script is located here, so it will try to look at this it will basically try to find a .env file. If let's say for example we don't have this .env file present, it will throw an error. And there might be situations that where you might have this .env file located somewhere else. In that case, you can specify the .env path in between parentheses. But in our case, since .env file is present within the same directory, it shouldn't be an issue. Now, how can I access the API key from this .env once I have loaded it? So what I can do is I can import a package called OS, and now I can do something like os.getenv, and now I can pass the key. What was the key? This was the key. Okay. Now here this key is different than this key, which is, I think this is you might get confused here. So what I can do is I can do something like Quadrant API key. Now this whole thing is also a key, since when we load the .env, it will be stored as a dictionary, and we are loading the key from the dictionary to get the value. Okay, so yeah, so this is the key. Now let's try to print out this key to make sure that we are able to access it. Python quadrant demo, and it is saying none. What does that mean? That means our key, because we did not save it. Let's run it again, and now we can clearly see our key. Okay, so once we have this, next task is what? Next task is to connect with our client. Now to connect with our client, and when I say client, what do I mean by that? I want to connect to this test cluster. Okay, so what I can do is I can copy this URL endpoint, and I can save it like this: URL endpoint, which is this. And let's import from quadrant client, import the client quadrant client class, and instantiate the client by doing quadrant client. There are two pieces of arguments that we need to pass. First one is URL endpoint, and second one is API key. An API key we have loaded from the .env file. And finally, after loading the client, what you can do? You can create collections, or if you already have a collection, you can interact with that collection. And as I already mentioned, collection is just a collection of points or collection of vectors. Okay, and also collection of vectors with their metadata, which are stored in the form of JSON or a dictionary. So once we have instantiated this client, we can list the collection. So I can say client dot show collections, and if I print this, let's see what do we get. Okay, so this get collections. Let's run this again. Not show collection, but get collections. Okay, so we can see collections are currently empty. Why? Because we don't have any collection right now. But now what we can do is we can create collection. Once we have basically instantiated the collection, the client, we can create collection, and the function for that is relatively simple, but there are few pieces of information which you need to understand. The first argument is the collection name. Okay, so I can pass test collection. Now the second argument is a tricky argument, and it is an argument where we need to specify vectors config. Now this vector config has to be a class, has to be an instant of. Let me import it, then I'll talk about it. So from quadrant client.models, there is a class called vector params. This vector params, so this vectors config should be of type vector params. So I'll instantiate this here. Now this vector params take two arguments. first one is size. Size means what? So since you can call this point, you can call this vector, but these must have a fixed size, right? You can't have a variable vector size in a vector database collection. So let's, for the time being, set a size of 100, and then you need to pass a distance function, which means that once you have inserted some vectors or some points within the database, how will the similarity, or how will the two different points or two different vectors should be compared, and that's where this distance comes in. Now there can be multiple types of distance: Euclidean distance, cosine based similarity measures. All of them are available in models class of distance. Now here, once I import this, I can pass it here, distance dot, and dot is just a fancy way of specifying that dot product. Okay, once we have done this, we should print collection created, and we can also confirm this after we run this on our cluster. Collection created. So first of all, let me go inside the cluster, let me refresh this, and we should not see any collection. And now let's run this quadrant demo. Yeah, it says collection created, and now let's refresh this. We should see this test collection, and we are seeing that points, which means how many vectors are there? 0 vectors are there. What is the vector configuration? The size is 100 and the distance is this name is default, right? So this is how the collection look like. Now let's create one more collection just to make sure, and this time distance should be maybe 150, and size should be 150, and distance should be cosine, just to make sure that this is working. Okay, this time also. Now let's refresh it, and now we have test collection 1, and this time it is 150 and cosine distance metric. Okay, now we have created the collection, but we haven't populated the points, right? So how can I populate points to this collection? While I am explaining this, because at later part of this video I'll be dealing with sentence transformer, I'll open a new command prompt, because this shell I will be using for running the script, because I'm just going off the topic of this video to install one more package which we will be using in a moment. So let me install, because that package installation takes some time, and that is why I don't want us to wait. Sentences transformers. Okay, let's see what is the exact syntax. Pip install sentence transformers. I think it should be okay. My internet is disconnected. Let's okay, so I think I need to probably, since my Wi-Fi is disconnected, give me a moment. Okay, so I'll just reconnect it. Okay, so let's refresh it. Okay, 1 second. Something is not working. Let's connect it using this. Okay, so pip install sentence transformers, pip, and yeah, so this is what is the syntax. Now we will let it install. Okay, it will take some time, and meanwhile we will come back to our discussion. So we were discussing that we have a collection now, but we don't have any points in it. How can we insert points to this collection? So I'll show it inside this only, but now we don't need to create collection. We already have a collection to work with. Okay, but what we need to do is we need to import another model, which is point struct. Okay, which is just a way to specify the point construct. Okay, point struct And now what we need to do is we need to call the client's upsert method. Okay, and this upsert method takes the collection name, and there is an argument called whether we while these collections are being these points are being inserted, we have to wait or not. So we can put it to true, and then there is the actual points list, and this list should contain elements of the type point struct. Okay, so since this collection, let me show you again, has a default size of 150, we should be having 150 points. So just for we should be having 60 points. So for I in range of we should be having okay, I think I mixed two things. It should not be having 150 point, but rather each point should be having a dimension of 150, which means since each point is a vector, right? So what I need to do is let's insert one point first. Okay, point struct, and this will have a id would be 1, and a vector is basically the name of actual vector which will be stored, and this will be a list, and then there will be another argument which is going to be payload. Now for showing you for the demonstration purpose, I'll just put in random payloads, but this payload corresponds to the metadata corresponding to the vector. Okay, so now I can do something like vector name vector1, or maybe class, some random bit of information I am just passing, class hello maybe. Okay, so this is the first point. Now where will this vector come from? Usually this vector comes from your embedding models. It can come from either OpenAI's embedding API, it can come from sentence transformers, as we will see in the later part of this video. It can come from even TF-IDF based vectorizer. It can also come from some local LLM setup like Ollama. So you see there are bunch of different ways by which you can populate this vector. Currently, just to show you how upsert works, I will be creating a random vector. So for I in range, how many points I should be creating? 150, which means I'll just put I here. Now this is just one point, and this points can be a list of point struct. I'll just copy it. One second. I'll just copy it. I'll paste it again, and I'll paste it again. Now what do I need to change? So I'm basically planning to insert or upsert 3 points with different IDs obviously, and in place of I'll just specify it as squares or cubes. Okay, rest of the details will be same, and here I can say vector 2, here vector 3, hello 1 and hello 2. Okay, so now this will return us boolean, which is whether the operation was successful or not, and this I can print. I hope it is making sense. This is the collection name, this whether we want to wait or not, and this will be a list of points where each element will be of the type point struct, and this should take ID, vector and payload argument. Okay, so once we have this, let's run this and let's see whether our sentence, this is getting installed. You see it's been 3-4 minutes, currently still it is being installed. Now let's run the file and see if we are able to successfully insert the so you see it says update status is completed. Now let's refresh this. You see this? Now 3 points are added to test collection. Let's open it. The moment we open it, we can see point 1, point 2, point 3. Now how are they looking? The payload is displayed here, which is key value pair, name vector1 class, and this is the same exact payload which we passed from here. And where is my vector? Vector is here. Okay, this is the vector, and vector by default won't be displayed here. Okay, because vectors are really huge in dimension, so they are not displayed here, but you can copy it from here and we can see length. We have point 2 and we have point 3. right? So this was about how to insert points in a vector database like Quadrant. Okay, so let's see the status of our sentence transformer. So our sentence transformer has been installed, and now what we can do is we can come to our actual use case of the video. What I have done is, now let me basically I don't need these two collections. I can either delete them or maybe just keep the way they are right now. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to basically create some real use case so that you can see the power of Quadrant in action. So what I'll do is, in my free time, what I did was I asked ChatGPT to create some 100 dummy sentences. They were not dummy, but they had some meaning to it, so that I can embed those in the, one second, let me again change my internet connection, so that what we can do is we can, yeah, so this is loaded, one second. Okay, so you see this is the list I have created, and what I'll do is I'll just copy this list, and this is a list of some, one second. Okay, so I'll copy this list and let's create a new file, which is Quadrant populate embeddings.py. Okay, so I'll copy the sentences here and let's minimize them. Okay, we will come back to this again. Let me comment out this line, and now let's let's uncomment this, and now let's create a new collection. But before I do that, I would like to open the sentence transformer documentation. Now here I will be using this model called All Mini LM. So this model is an embedding model, and it is a very lightweight embedding model. My system is a CPU based system, and it can run this model fast. Okay, so this offers a dimension of size 384, which is quite nice. Why do I need to know that? Because I will be passing it here, right? And I would be using dot as a similarity metric. Now in place of collection name, let's give it some real name. So maybe sample 100 points. Okay, maybe this is my collection name, and let's create the collection now. So Python Quadrant demo, and let's run this, and it should print collection created. And if I reload my Quadrant UI, we should see this sample 100 points, and it has got 384 as the configuration of vectors. Okay, so now we will be using this populate embedding script to actually populate the embedding. So what I'll do is I'll copy some bunch of code from here. So I'll just copy most of this. Now notice here, depending upon when you run it, if you run it first time, this will start downloading the model from the repository, from the Hugging Face. So this sentence transformer package has been created by Hugging Face. So this will install the Hugging Face model, but if you run this script second time, it won't do, because it will store the model in the cache. Okay, so I'll just get all of these and let me print it here, and what I need to do is I just need to remove the sentences. Okay, so what will happen? It will load the model first of all, and it will encode, and when encoding, since I have got 100 sentences, it will return 100 by 384 array. And then what we can do is I can create a list like points, and let me now do one thing. Let me import, let me use these two. Maybe let's do one thing. Let's copy this whole code so that we don't have to write all of this again. and then let's copy sentences from here down to here, and let's again minimize the sentences. Okay, yes. So now once we have the model encoded all the sentences, what we need to do is we need to create a points. So for points, what I'll do is I'll loop through this. So for embedding in embeddings, and what I'll do is I'll append in points. What I'll append this point struct. Okay, now I need to provide it a ID, right? Now how can I get the ID? So what I can do is, instead of using this plain iteration, what I can do is I can use enumerate, and I can loop and unpack both index and the embedding, and in place of ID I can just use I, and the actual vector would be the embedding itself. Okay, and then there will be a payload. Now what should I use in the payload? So here, since sentences are quite small, although in the real life use cases you will be having actual payloads. For example, if you are dealing with Reddit answers, then payload could be author of the post or maybe comments and things like that. But here, since I need to test this system, this quadrant system, I would be using the actual sentences, because you can't visually, as a human, we can't visually see vector similarities, because these are high dimensional vectors and you can't visually check whether this bunch of numbers are close to these bunch of numbers. So that's why we need actual sentences to kind of see if the quadrant did a good job of kind of clustering, because quadrant does this clustering, or rather I should not use the clustering word, but what it does is it creates this graph like structure, and that in itself is a very huge topic which we can cover later in some other video. It uses something known as HNSW algorithm to kind of create a graph. Okay, I think we are getting off the topic. So now in the sentence, what I'll do is I have embedding, I have I, and I also have sentences list. So what we can do is we can do sentences and I, and after this is run, we will have a points list. And if you recall, we have this function which is to inserting these points, and in place of points I should just get rid of these and write points, because this is where I'm creating points, and in place of test collection I can get this sample 100 points collection. Okay, now once I print success, it should create all the 100 points with their embeddings. I hope you are getting. Now this, since I'm going to be running this script for the first time, it is going to take some time. It will do a bunch of things. It will load the model, it will encode it. It won't take much time because these are 100 sentences and very small sentences, and also they shouldn't take much time, and the model size is quite low. So let's run this quadrant populate embeddings, and if I run this, you will see bunch of comments, and let's closely look at all the comments which will be printed as the process is run. Okay, so it's taking a bunch of time, which is not to be worried, because yeah, you see, okay, it's completed, but it did not print. I see. I got why it did not print, because I did the same exact process a while ago, maybe one day ago, and the models were still in the cache. But let's see if on the UI we can see all the points. So we see that 103 points have been added, and if I open the collection, now more important than the points itself, you need to think about the graph feature. Now notice this sentence: The stock market rallied today after a week of losses. And if I open the graph, what will the quadrant do is it will show you all the points which are connected to it. And when I say connected, what it means is their embeddings are very close to the embeddings of this. So let's open the graph. You see this, and on the right you see the IDN sentence of the highlighted one, this one. And if I move my cursor to this, you see farmer markets are seeing a rise in organic sales. If I go here, a tech company announced layoff. You see all the negative news here. A bridge collapsed due to poor maintenance. Bitcoin saw a 100% increase. Unemployment. So we are seeing news related vector data points connected here. And if you click on any of the point, they will further take you to the another. You see, an innovative startup is disrupting. So we can see it is clustering or rather grouping bunch of newses. But now let's try to look at some other kind of you can say sentence. Maybe this one. Doctor warn about the. Let's open the graph. You see, doctor warn about. Okay, researchers created. Doctor, researchers, scientists, a drone, a AI. You see, this is related to tech field, right? So this cluster has been you can say related to tech. Now if I go again to that sentence and open the find similar, click on the find similar. Okay, you see this. So we are searching by ID. So we are trying to find similar. So online learning platforms, the startup receipt. You see, this is it's not correct to find similarities in only 100 points, but what I wanted to show you in this video is to kind of give you an idea of how to work with quadrant. Okay, and one of the nice thing about quadrant is you can scale your vector databases to millions or billions of vectors, and obviously there are more considerations that you have to make in that, like horizontal scaling, vertical scaling, and more configuration settings you will have to think about before you can and also you can't do it on free tier clusters. You have to create dedicated clusters. So currently these are free tier clusters. Okay, so yeah, I think that would be it for this video. And yes, thank you so much for watching this video, and let me know if you have any doubts in the comments. And yeah, thank you so much. Have a nice day. So that's it. We just created a full vector search pipeline using quadrant and sentence transformers, right from account setup to generating and exploring high dimensional embeddings. If you found this helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos. I'll be posting more hands-on tutorials like this on vector search, embeddings, and AI tooling. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.